Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining Tara and I again this evening. We appreciate all of you being here. Real quick, let me go through Gail Nelson. Thank you so much for becoming a new member. Appreciate you. Hi, Jane MC, Candor 86, Leon Stevenson, Punch Buggy, Kari MC, Silver Mama, Texas Rose, Bethany Dick, Susie Q. Appreciate all of you being here. Susie Q. Appreciate all of All right. Just want to make sure everybody could hear. They can hear now. So, hi, Lynn Stevenson. Appreciate you guys being here with us. So, tonight we're just going to kind of go back to some of the facts of the case. We will put up a call in number. I did get that figured out today. So, we can put that up if anybody wants to call in and just kind of talk about it, give us your ideas, your thoughts, your opinions. Then we're more than happy to do that. So, let's get started with this first. It shouldn't take too long, and then we'll put the call in number up, and then we'll just have a discussion. All right, so the first thing, let me make sure that this, okay, so it is showing good on the screen. Hi, Phoebe. Hi, Lobo Lady. All right, so let's get started. Tiffany Adams had been fighting for custody for years. She was just doing it through her son, Wrangler. She wasn't fighting, one-on-one with Veronica until just recently. On Saturday, March 30th of this year, the Texas County Sheriff's Office requested the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation Investigative Services for the suspicious disappearance of Veronica Butler, 27, Veronica's on the right, and Jilian Kelley, 39, from rural Texas County after their vehicle was found abandoned near Highway 95 and Road L south of Elkhart, Kansas. Butler and Kelley were traveling to Oklahoma from Hugoton. And it doesn't get said often enough, but between these two beautiful women, they leave behind a total of 6 children, dozens and dozens of families, family members, friends, and an entire community that's really struggling to understand what and how this would have happened. Through the child custody case, recordings were obtained where Rickman, now that is going to be the children's father, they're talking about Wrangler Rickman, discussed death threats by Adams and Adams' boyfriend, Tad Colum. The custody battle began in February of 2019. So, I mean, we're at April 21st of 24. So it had been going on for a good 5 years with many hearings and court appearances. On March 18th of 2024 and March 20th of 2024, motions were filed requesting extended visitation for Veronica. Veronica had filed those requests. A hearing was scheduled to occur on April 17th. Coincidentally, was the date that they were all read their charges, and we got to see them make their little walk into the courthouse the other day. Butler's attorney informed OSBI that Veronica was likely to receive unsupervised visitation with her children at that hearing. At times, Tiffany Adams refused to let Rickman, her own son, have his children, even though Rickman had legal custody of them. Law enforcement previously responded to a call for service where Adams refused to give Rickman his children. Reportedly, the officer told Wrangler that he believed the children were better off in Tiffany's care. Now, I don't think this is just one time that happened. I believe, because I've heard of several instances where this occurred. So even though Wrangler had custody of his children, his mom still wasn't allowing even him to see them.
And I've heard the same thing over and over again too, Kari.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't the one and only time. So then, all of this comes from the affidavit. So I just kind of picked out the parts that are important that I keep seeing questions about. In this, it says that they are a continuing threat to society. The evidence shows that the defendant and co-conspirators engaged in a plot to kidnap and murder the deceased, Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley, in order to prevent the lawful granting of custody and or unsupervised visitation by the court. The defendant and conspirators attempted said crime previously. They both had traveled to Hugoton in an attempt to lure Veronica out of her home, and additionally planning to organize her death by throwing an anvil through her windshield while she drove down the road. Not the first time, and these were reported. The proof of guilt is evident. This is where we're seeing Tiffany accepts responsibility. It says, see attached sworn affidavit detailing the relevant facts at this time. State would point out that after arrest, this defendant, Tiffany Adams, did provide a recorded statement to law enforcement indicating her responsibility for the death of the deceased. And if there's any questions or anything, just holler out at me, Tara, and I will stop. The attached affidavit, no condition would assure the safety of the community if they had been given bond, which includes the witnesses and court personnel involved in the case. The facts are that in order to prevent Veronica Butler from regaining custody and or unsupervised supervision with her children, the defendant and conspirators were willing to commit murder. Said murder was complex and involved extensive preparation. There are statements of the co-conspirators that their problem would be taken care of because in addition to removing Veronica, they knew the path the judge walked to work. Now, faced with the consequence of its sentence of death or life in prison, the defendant and conspirators would be willing to do anything since they have shown to be willing to commit capital murder in order to limit Veronica's visitation. The father of those children is Wrangler Rickman. That is Tiffany Adams' son. Butler's visitation with her children was court-ordered to be supervised every Saturday. Adams had a particular person that she preferred to supervise those visitations. That person is Cheryl Brune. You've heard her name quite a bit. The court ordered Adams to pay for Brune to supervise visits if that is who she wanted to be present. Otherwise, Butler was to pay for the person to supervise. Adams said that Brune was unavailable to supervise the visitation on this day, March 30th of 24. So Butler was required to arrange a supervision with one of her 3 approved individuals. She contacted Jilian Kelley of Hugoton and planned to have her supervise the visit. So they weren't like friends that had originally come out. They were acquaintances kind of thing. They did know each other, and Jilian had supervised visits previously. OSBI interviewed Brune, and she said that she was available to supervise the visit that day, but that Tiffany Adams told her to take a couple of weeks off from the visitation so that Tiffany could question the children related to how Butler's approved visitation supervisors were. So she wanted to question the children. I think she did that quite a bit. Butler and Kelley's phone records indicated their devices were actively sending signals to their carriers until approximately 9:42 a.m., after which the devices were no longer seen by the networks and stopped transmitting. Bruni. Is that right?
Bruni.
Is that right,
It's
Marcy?
Bruni.
Bruni. Okay.
It's Bruni.
Thank you. Juanita said, I don't think Wrangler Rickman, the father of Veronica children, he should not even be considered to receive custody. Well, he's gonna have a problem with custody, I think, on his own, just because of some of his past and things like that. He's definitely gonna have to make a whole lot of amends and do some work on himself, but I don't think he'll get full custody. Tessie says, is the volume low or is it just her? I don't know. Let me.
I can hear you, but I'm in. So volume is. Lacey says it's fine.
Yeah, the volume's fine.
I can hear, but I'm on the inside.
Thank you. Smelly Story said this killing crew is pure evil. Yes, they are. All right, so Butler and Kelley left Hugoton, Kansas, and traveled Highway 95 and Rodell, about 5 miles north of Four Corners, where they were supposed to actually meet. Butler and Kelley arrived at that location at approximately 9:40 a.m. Veronica planned to bring her daughter to a birthday party, but after they didn't arrive to that birthday party, her family began looking for her. Melissa and Joey Padilla, who were Butler's family members, located her abandoned vehicle just west of the intersection of Highway 95 and Road L. You guys have all seen those pictures. The Padillas then contacted law enforcement at 12:09 in the afternoon. An examination of the vehicle and areas surrounding the vehicle found evidence of a severe injury. Blood was found on the roadway and edge of the roadway. Veronica's glasses were also found in the roadway south of the vehicle near a broken hammer. So her glasses were, I always thought they were in the car. So her glasses were found in the roadway near that broken hammer. A pistol magazine was found inside Kelley's purse, but no pistol was found. Now, this is going to go on to describe a little bit of the other people, possibly at least affiliated in some sense. Again, this is straight out of the probable cause. CW described Cora, Cole, Adams, Cullum, and Paul Grice as being part of an anti-government group that had a religious affiliation. Through the OSBI investigation, it was learned that they called their group God's Misfits. Regular meetings were held weekly at Twombly's and the home of Barrett and Lacey Cook. So it's my understanding that Cole and Barrett Cook would take turns basically being the quote-unquote preacher. And also, Cora and Cole lived right there, right behind the school, that Plainview school area.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Wonder why Veronica wouldn't come out of the house during the first attempt. Wonder if she's suspected. Well, she had many threats and she had reported those as well, as had Wrangler. So, I mean, I'm sure Veronica was just a nervous wreck most all the time, especially after she made that filing, you know, to get more visitation. And Sonia, thank you so much for being here. We always appreciate you. So I believe I have that answer. I'm not quite sure. Let me look real quick.
That school is owned by the school district. According to the records, it's owned by the alumni entity, is what it's listed under. The parcel that Cora and Cole Twombly lived on is directly south of it, basically across the yard. So the school
Okay, so
is not owned by a resident.
So that shows up pretty good, I think. So you can see where Cole lived in relation to the school right there.
Yep. So there's a parcel to that. It's on that top left corner. That's owned by the fire station. It's owned by emergency fire service of some sort. And then you have the parcel on the lower left and the top right. That's both school, and then Twombly's is kind of tucked right in there. And they've owned that for several years, it looks like. So how are they able to have meetings at the school? My understanding is they could rent it out. But I also understand the Misfits met at residential homes too.
Right. Yeah, originally I was told that they like leased, or Cole had leased possibly the school. But I don't know that for a fact. But the affidavit says that they were meeting at Twombly's and at the Cook's house for these kind of meetings. So,
have they said their cause of death yet? No, I haven't seen anything on that. They've not announced it.
Nope, they haven't. And this school is no longer operational either, so that's kind of important to know. Um, it's been out of
Now
operation for quite some time.
right, but that comment right there that you just put up that you can't rent out school spaces. So I don't live in Oklahoma, so I don't know if that's an Oklahoma thing. I would think it's a district thing, but in the area that I live in Kansas, you can rent out school spaces if they have it. And so I don't know that if that was the case for this school that was no longer used as an educational facility, but that would be something to definitely look into.
Yeah, most definitely. All
Astrid, I
right.
still sound
I
too
might have,
loud.
I think it might have been in the StreamYard settings, so hopefully I corrected that for everybody.
Okay. I tried to correct it on my end. I'm not
All
yelling, I
right.
promise.
Right? I don't think you even would ever
Yeah.
yell. I can't imagine you yelling. So she's like, don't try it.
I
So
mean,
yeah, so they learned through the OSBI investigation, it was learned that they called their group God's Misfits. The regular meetings were held weekly. Originally, I was told they were held Sunday afternoons and could go late, even into the early morning hours. I've also been told that sometimes they're held on Wednesdays as well. But see, these people would go to their regular churches. They went to other churches. Now, I don't know about the cooks, but I do know that Tiffany for sure did. She went to a whole nother church on Sunday mornings, just like anybody else. And then afterwards, then they would attend these meetings. I don't know if that's the case for, you know, everybody else that kind of is in that misfits group. I know they don't want to be called that anymore. The people that have had any kind of association, they do not want to be associated with that. But for now,
well,
that's
it
the
start
best
off.
we can do.
It's well, that's and it's kind of their own doing. I am gonna toot on that horn because it was a joke originally to call themselves the Misfits. It kind of stuck amongst the group, and then tragedy occurs, and then it takes off in a very negative connotation. So I don't think they wanted it to be meaning something negative. It was a joke amongst themselves, and it was a joke that kind of just took a turn south, unfortunately. But there's to your point, Carrie, there's no other way to call it at this point. That's what they went on Facebook and announced themselves as. So
Yep, they
if the
certainly
shoe
did.
fits, lace it up.
That's right. So they had also disclosed that other attempts to unalive, sorry, we have to kind of use different words, but Veronica Butler occurred during February of this year near Hugoton, Kansas, in which Adams, Colum, Cole, Cora, and Grice went to Hugoton, but Butler did not leave her residence. And this is consistent with the web search discovered on Adams' phone about how to get somebody out of their house. CW stated that Cora told her that the plan to kill Butler in Kansas was to get in front of her while she was driving and to throw an anvil through her vehicle windshield. The plan was designed to look like an accident, as anvils fall off work trucks regularly in the area. Unreal.
So I'm kind of curious, and I have been, and I'm gonna actually I'm googling it right now. I never would have thought to Google how to get somebody out of their house.
Me
Like, how
either.
does how does that? So I'm googling it right now, and
What
there's no
shows
like.
up, I'm scared to know.
Well, the first thing that shows up, ironically, is the do's and don'ts of helping a friend come out. I'm like, oh, you mean that kind of come out? Wait, hold on. Like, I don't understand. That is such a weird, and I'm a Googler of the Googlers. I don't understand how that just blows my mind that you would actually Google something like that. I don't know. I that's just
Well,
yeah, I just found
I
that
mean,
intriguing.
to me, the smart thing would have just been able to say she got an extra day with the kids or something. But then Veronica might
Yeah,
have, that might have been a red
should have
flag for her.
been
That might have been
right.
a real red flag. I don't know.
I don't know either. I just thought that was the most odd thing to find on a Google search is how to get somebody out of their house.
Oh, it
I don't know.
is.
I just
If anybody
it
watched
just didn't.
the Letitia Stout trial with Gannon, oh my gosh, her Google searches were something else. Whole nother
I'll have to go
topic.
look at
But it's
that.
crazy what people Google while they're planning on murdering somebody. Insanity.
Bethany
Yeah,
Chick says, "Yeah, what do you think Google would tell you?"
right?
That's my point. Like, oh, I see what you want to do. Let me help you lure somebody out. I'm
Like
very perplexed by that one.
like maybe don't do it in all caps or something. I don't know, but yeah. Jeez. That's just
Oh my
the
gosh.
they just weren't very smart. I'll put it that way. They're not very
No,
smart.
these are not organized. The anvil, somebody I think it is Stephanie asks, do anvils really fall off work trucks around there often? I was told yes. When I questioned that, and I think Kari had the same similar responses to the folks that she talked with. Yes, anvils are a common thing in the area for horseshoeing, if I'm understanding correctly, and they will fall out of trucks often. So that when I talk to people about that, they were the most of the folks out there are very nonchalant. Yeah, it's not a big deal. It will happen. So I when I think of anvil, I mean, I'm immediately drawn to, and this is not to downplay anything. I just think of Wild E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. That's what I think of. So it just doesn't. It just seems very far fetched, but apparently it does happen. And there's
It's
all the, but
crazy.
and how do you throw something like that? That to me just seems like it's so difficult to throw out of of anything. So I don't know. That's just crazy. I don't know. I don't know.
Why are
I
they
would
on trucks? Why are they on like are they on farm trucks out there for some reason? I don't understand that. Maybe
it
somebody
would
will know.
be be great if there's somebody who has experience. If it is actual horseshoeing that those things are used for, it'd be great to hear something out there about it. But I just thought that was another interesting thing to point out. These are not the smartest individuals. Uh, it's safe to say there may not be organized crime in the background of all of this. I
Right,
don't know.
exactly. Road gypsy, do not tailgate while driving in that area. Noted. Yeah. Sounds like maybe you
Gosh,
shouldn't do that. I don't know.
perhaps not. Oh my goodness. All right. So, yeah, the part is super odd to me. More likely would have been the brick from the overpass scenario. I would think so, but there's no overpasses in that area, so I guess you got to work with what you got. How Google, how much does an anvil weigh?
I'm on it.
Oh, yes. Are you on it already?
I'm on it.
That's a very good point. We're sitting here talking about we've got Google. Hell, we can figure out how to get somebody to come out of their house through Google. Surely we know how much an
Right?
anvil weighs.
So, anvils typically weigh between 75 and 500 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
The
Oh my
size depends
gosh.
on what you plan to use it for. Knife maker might use an anvil that weighs 75 to 125 pounds, which is large enough for a knife for knife
Oh,
making, but small enough to move around the workshop. A shop anvil might weigh 200 pounds or more. General blacksmithing might use an anvil that weighs 150 to 165. Either way, it's going to cause some damage,
it's gonna, yeah, it's a lot of weight. And Marcy says
especially
she's
going
never heard
down
of
a
an anvil
road.
falling. No joke. You've got to be standing on the back of a work truck to throw it off of the work truck. I mean, I just don't know. You think you'd see that coming, so I don't know how they thought that was a good plan. Marcy says, I've never heard of an anvil falling off of a work truck, and I live in the area. All right, and that may be. I know that some of the folks I talked to act like, but I don't know. I guess some of the things I need to, I had to start asking more questions about where do you
Right?
live and what do you do? Because to me, just to hear an anvil, I live in a major metro area, so just hearing of an anvil, I go back to the whole Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner thing. That just doesn't seem like something you would have um, at a residential level. I guess I don't know. I just never it never occurred to me. So this is a lot of learning. A lot of learning. Often used in a metal work. Many welders have them on the back of their trucks too. So there's both sides representing there. There's a lot of pipeline welders in this part of Oklahoma. Many have anvils, though they are almost always fastened down. I live in rural western Oklahoma off highway. So there's the opportunity and possibility is there, which is probably why they thought this plan would work. But my goodness, I can't imagine. I would be that person trying to throw an anvil off the back of the truck and end up going with it. That's I just can't imagine that's a feasible plan. But
Nope, doesn't make any sense to me either. I think that that was another that they just are not smart people. That Tiffany just
mm,
thought she was super smart. So let's
yeah.
see. All right. So at a hearing scheduled for April 17th of this year, Veronica would potentially have been granted unsupervised visitation with her children. Adams vehemently opposed this and went to great lengths to plan and purchase items used in Butler and Kelley's murders. The crimes and the bodies were concealed. Attempts were made to obscure Adams, Cullum, Cora, and Cole's whereabouts at the time of the murder. And I'm just saying, I think I know where they were at or who was hiding them out. Adams, Cullum, Cole, and Cora were willing to kidnap and murder two victims to limit visitation for Veronica Butler. They are therefore willing to take any extreme, violent measures to protect themselves and thwart the criminal process. So I just got a message that says, anvils don't fall off of trucks often. I've lived in the area my whole life and never heard of something like that happening. These people aren't the sharpest tools in this shed. Yeah, I mean, where I live, I haven't heard of it either. So I'm kind of surprised. If that's
Now
like a, go ahead.
there's some interesting comments coming in about an anvil hammer. That might be what folks are referring to, and I googled that. Now that I can believe. It's a hammer looking object. And I know I've seen one of those. I've seen those in use when I've watched something on TV where there's a horseshoe being taking place. I'm not even sure the right terminology, 'cause again, I'm from the metro. My country girl ways have long gone. But I can see how that plan, if they were talking about throwing an anvil hammer off of a truck, but even then you'd have to be in the back of that truck with a pretty good aim, and I think that seems more feasible, but it still doesn't seem any more smart. Not that these people were smart, we've established that. There's a lot of and Blue Sky says there's a lot of tools on highways that fall off, but I've never seen an anvil. Hammers, wrenches, etc. are used, but not normal for typically fastening down
Yeah. I mean,
tools.
like, I know my husband has all, toolboxes and stuff. They're not just flying
Mhm.
around, flying out on people. But is this the,
Right.
is this maybe is this like the type of hammer that was found at the scene? Is that a
That's
possibility?
where my mind was going. Now that would make sense if it's that I could see that being a possibility. We've got some folks in here who know better than we do, so hopefully they could tell us. But yeah, I do think that Tiffany thought she was going to get away with it too.
Oh,
I
definitely.
think she was completely. I have so few nice things to say, but that's okay. They wanted it to look like it, so they were going to stage it, is how I read it. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that could be too. That's a good point. But it's all around just sometimes there are no words.
I was muted again.
Yeah. Oh,
Sorry about that. All right.
that's
So,
funny.
Adams, Tiffany, and Tad have a history of violent interactions, including death threats and intimidation against individuals who disagree with their ideas. That is a fact. And I can't tell you, I couldn't even count on two hands. It'd take more than that of how many people that have discussed that they were threatened by one or the other.
Yeah.
Members of the conspiracy participated in multiple attempts to murder Veronica Butler in the states of Oklahoma and Kansas. They abide by their own philosophy and they have no regard for the sanctity of human life. Adams, Cullum, Cora, and Cole have resources sufficient to organize and execute a complex murder. Therefore, they also have the resources to flee if given the opportunity. At the time of his arrest, Tad had, and we knew he was, he was very well armed. I was very nervous, knowing, kind of the things that we knew at the time. I was pretty nervous for law enforcement to go in there, honestly. But as always, they know way more than we do, and they came in very, very prepared. Couldn't be more proud of Oklahoma, the OSBI, FBI, all of it. But yeah, so they had sufficient resources to organize and execute. Oh my gosh, a complex murder. Therefore, they also had the resources to flee if given the opportunity. At the time of his arrest, Cullum had a rifle, ammunition, body armor, and a go bag prepared at his residence. He didn't get his go bag going soon enough, apparently. Adams and Cullum owned numerous guns and other weapons. Adams and Cullum pose grave danger to witnesses and community members. No conditions exist which would effectively assure the safety of the community or any person involved in this case, including court officials, should Adams and Cullum be released. And they're saying, I'm almost positive the including court officials is because, remember, they did have to give one of the judges 24/7 protection around the clock.
Mm-hmm. There is a question in there.
I'm curious what the accused were doing before they arrested for those 2 weeks. Were you able to talk to any of them? No, didn't talk to any of them. I'm sure that we came in some kind of contact with them at some point late at night. But the only thing that I really was made aware of was that the kids were in school every day, just because I was concerned for them. And I reached out to somebody that would know. And so I was able to keep up at least on Veronica's kids, making sure that they were okay. Tiffany was actually driving them to school still every single day. And there towards the end, she started driving a car with Colorado plates, which was not her typical vehicles that she would use. But she was taking them to school. And that was about all I knew of them, what they were up to. SR says I call him Tadbert. All right. And then again, we went over this the other night, just one more time. Most likely, there's only 4 families that are truly deeply involved in this ideology. So that is the ideology of, I spelled that wrong, sovereign citizen, denouncing their citizenship kind of thing. So those families, for a fact, are Tad Cullum, Tiffany Adams, the Cooks, Cora and Cole Twombly, 2 of their daughters, 2 of Cook's daughters, and Paul Grice's family, or at least him. The Misfits have many quote unquote members, but I believe these are the main players. I don't think that the rest are people that you need to worry about or anything like that. However, I do think that the whole denouncing citizenship, the ideology that they hold, a lot of those beliefs, that the people in the areas need to be well aware of it, and not that way you don't fall into that trap, because my understanding is a lot of these people are really nice people. A lot of people that gone to the meetings, they had no idea that they just never would have dreamt something like this. So that's why I say I think it's these 4 families that are completely, deep into that kind of ideology, but I'm just not sure about the others.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that.
All right, and then here are the Cooks. Now they're only mentioned in the affidavit the one time. So right now they do not have, they haven't been charged with anything in connection with the murders, nothing like that. But they are a family that also did denounce their citizenship, or however you want to call it, at the same time that Paul Grice did. And I truly believe Tiffany would have as well if it hadn't affected her positions, or multiple ones: school board, hospital board. What was the other one she was on? GOP party. So 3 different things, at least, that we know of. Barrett who was known as the town butcher. He had a very nice storefront there. He is also the quote unquote misfits preacher. He takes turns with Cole. Well, he did. Cole won't be out for a long time, so I guess it's going to be on Barrett now. But him and his wife, Lacey, as well as two of their daughters. Now, one recently married Frank Twombly. Frank is Cole Twombly's son. They filed their repudiation of citizenship on July 26th of last year. They have 8 children. All are homeschooled or have been. 2 minors still at home. They are only mentioned in the affidavit as having had the children the night before and the day of the murders. Now, this is off of a YouTube video somebody had took when they went. They had taken a pig to them, and in the video it shows their whole process and Lacey and Barrett talking. But now look at this. Look at the changes in these people. Mm-hmm. So this is Barrett right here, okay? That's more recent. This is Tiffany. She was a really pretty lady once upon a time. I mean, even Tad wasn't so bad looking, but look at him. I mean, the changes are just astonishing.
They really are. Unbelievable. It's kind of mind-blowing.
So Bethany said they seem to be carrying on as normal. Cole and Cora had a birthday party. Ridiculous. Well, they had a birthday party. Tiffany had a birthday party for one of Veronica's children that Veronica was supposed to be
for. Cole, there was a birthday party for
another
Cole.
One?
Yeah, the week in the days following, within the week that of March 30th, when the girls were attacked, and Cole made a post about it on Facebook saying, "Thank you so much. Got to spend this birthday with great people and the gracious." And I remember that word specifically. I do believe gracious Cora. And so it was just within a few days of the attack. That's what set off a lot of comments on the Facebook group. Was they're carrying on as though nothing happened with birthday parties. There was no signs of any kind of issue or major event that had occurred. They're just everyday lives.
Yeah, they were just going on about things. I mean, Tad was doing business with the judge and getting his sawmill set up and all sorts of stuff. I truly just think that they thought that they would get away with it again. Now, a lot of the rumors have actually tampered down, thank goodness, because I went looking for them, and I was even asking our mods, like, okay, what's some of the biggest rumors you're hearing that still need to be addressed? And they really couldn't find any. So there was only a couple. This one for sure. Cora Twombly was not a Twombly before getting married the first time. Her maiden name is Moore. She married a White, and then she married Twombly, and I did verify that. So yeah, she was not a Twombly. So we'll put that one to rest. It's not like she married her first cousin or nothing like that. Right. And then the other one I want to put to bed, so I can clarify with 100% certainty. I took this picture. I did. All right. This is the vehicle that toyed with us the night I arrived out there to the area, the Four Corners. This is the car that was toying with us at Four Corners. Okay. It pulled up across the street, turned off its headlights. Somebody walked out to the road with a gun, and then they turned on their lights and they took off. So I followed them to get a license tag number. Now, if any of you do true crime, you know that we can all get license plate numbers. We can find out. We can track it to who owns it anyway. So that was April 12th. I followed it. I obtained tag information on it. It absolutely does not belong to the law enforcement officer that it's being said has a connection to this vehicle. So I just want to make that very, very clear. Now, the other 2 nights when we were followed or chased, or however you want to describe it, I'm going to say chased, we were unable to see what type of cars or truck, or we don't even know, was it a car, truck? One night it seemed to be that there was 2 of them, but we were never able to see exactly what those vehicles were. This is the only one I know for a fact And the owner is not related to anybody's name that you've heard so far. So I just wanted to clear that part up. And then finally, this is Jillian's obituary, and I'm going to drop the link in the comments. It also gives information. So, beloved 39-year-old Jilian Dolores Kelley went to be with her Heavenly Father on April 14th, 2024. She was born on June 3rd, 1984, to her loving and adored parents, Theodore Joe and Kaylee, Kaylee, I believe, Dalby. Jillian Heath Whitney Kelley married on October 11th, 2002 in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. To this beloved marriage were 4 children. I don't want to name the children. Those who knew Jillian will always remember her alongside her beloved husband, Heath, and their 4 cherished children. Her family was her pride and joy, and her unwavering love for them knew no bounds. A devoted wife and mother, Jillian's gentle soul and pure heart were unparalleled. Her presence radiated warmth, making everyone feel valued and loved in her midst. Jillian led a life dedicated to her faith and service to others as a devoted Christian woman and pastor's wife. She filled the role of the First Christian Church of Hugoton's secretary with grace and compassion. Jillian's influence extended to the younger generation through her leadership at Wednesday Night Olympian and Gopher Buddies Children's Church, where she nurtured the spiritual growth of children and guided them in their relationship with the Lord. So, and it goes on to talk more about her. Everything that it says in here is exactly what I've heard from people that knew her. Just that she's just an amazing human being, period. I mean, I didn't ever hear anything bad about either Jillian or Veronica, to be very honest.
No.
But definitely wonderful things, nothing but wonderful things about Jillian and Heath and their family. So there is a memorial that has been established for First Christian Church of Hugoton or Willow Christian Church of Indianola, Nebraska. Wherever you choose for your contribution, the money will be spent on one of Jillian's favorite pastimes, and that is having children grow in their relationship with Jesus. Memorials are in the care of Robson Funeral Home in Hugoton, Kansas. Book signing service will be held on Sunday, April 28th from 3 to 6, and then again on Monday, the 29th from 10 to 8. Her celebration of life service will be held on Tuesday, April 30th at 10 a.m. at the First Christian Church of Hugoton. Family and friends are encouraged to wear yellow to the service. And then in honoring Jillian's memory, let us carry forward the light she shared with us all, a light fueled by love, kindness, warmth, and an unwavering faith. Though she may no longer walk among us, her spirit will forever dwell in our hearts. May we find comfort in each other as we bid farewell to a remarkable soul who left an indelible mark on all who had the privilege of knowing her. That gave me chills.
It's such a well done obituary. You really get a feel of her personality and her kindness, and that aligns with I've talked with a couple of family members of Jillian, and that just resonates what they've said. It would at some point, Kari, it would be great that we do a live where we can bring those who know Jillian.
Yes, anytime,
and Veronica.
Anytime they feel comfortable. I mean, like, we'll open the phone lines here in just a second.
Yeah.
If they feel comfortable and they want to share their stories, we want that. We just had a hard time, getting those that feel good, comfortable enough. It's obviously a very emotional time for them as well. So I can understand that, but absolutely, they are definitely free to do so. And then,
awesome.
So I have put that obituary with the date in the comments, and I will pin it real quick.
Yep, it is in the comments. There was Hannah Allen asks, did TA know it would be Jillian? I wasn't sure with what I read because they said Veronica had 4 supervisors. From the way that the affidavit reads and some of the paperwork that we've seen, the documents, and Kari, correct me or confirm, Jillian had 3 approved court-approved supervisors. Those were the ones that Tiffany said, yes, I agree. There was a few others that Veronica had tried to get through, and Tiffany said, no, that I don't agree to that. And I believe that Tiffany was supposed to have 3 herself. I think they each had um, one go-to and then a couple of alternates. But that particular time, um, Tiffany had told the the supervisor who was supposed to go, the typical one, which was Cheryl Bruni, take a few weeks off. I want to see, and this is per the affidavit, I want to see how Veronica's supervisors act, and I wanted a report from the kids on it. So Tiffany did have intent to make sure it wasn't one of her supervisors that were there, with the reasoning being she wanted to see how the other supervisors were doing through the kids' eyes.
Yep. I have a feeling she knew. It's been said, and I believe it's in those court documents, that um, Tiffany thought Jilian basically was an enemy as well, because she felt that she stood up for and protected Veronica. But she did have, there was 3 to choose from. Tiffany called off the one, which that one says, well, I was available. So she was called off, and I think that I believe, I don't know that it would have mattered who was with Veronica that day, but I
Mm-hmm.
believe, knowing that Jilian had been with her on previous visitations, that it's very well, likely that Tiffany might have assumed that that's who she was going to bring. And Jilian, sadly, was not Tiffany's favorite person either. In fact, anybody that was kind, it seems, was not one of her favorite people, or at least if you were kind to Veronica.
Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate. Neither one deserved it or earned it. Not that you do, but just it was very heartless.
Definitely. All right. So that's what I have. The phone number that you can call in is up on the screen. It will not announce your number. So if you'd like to call in and want to discuss anything about it, or if you just knew Veronica or Jilian and you'd like to talk about them, if you have other information or you can clarify some of the things that we have been saying, we'd love to hear from you. So give us a call. And
Oh,
meanwhile, we'll just go through the chat.
yes. What comments, questions, curiosities do we have out there? If it was Jillian's first time going, then I'm curious how TA would hold something against her. It wasn't, to my understanding, that was not Jillian's first time. It
No.
was considered that because Jillian supported these visits through her supervision, she was considered the enemy. She was considered to be evil. Um, and I think the term was in the affidavit was guilty because she supported um, Veronica, and so there was a definite understanding of who she was. I've heard several times that Jillian and Veronica were not friends in terms of hanging out regularly. They were individuals that they knew, they were acquaintances, and Jillian felt comfortable being a help to Veronica. Um, she was she was very sympathetic and compassionate towards the situation. It would be great to hear stories about both of them, Lacey. It would be very heartwarming to hear stories. You guys are quiet in the chat tonight. Surely you got something.
They are quiet. I was trying to pull that part up. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to keep chatting with them, I'll
Sure, I
try to
will.
find that part in here where it does say that Veronica, or that Tiffany, basically thought Jillian was,
Was
she
evil.
was
It'll
against
be
Jillian as well. So give me a second and I will pull that up for you guys.
so there's a, I know the question was answered, but I'm going to go ahead and address it because I don't know who reads the chat and who listens. But there's a question about why April 14th was listed as the date of death
Oh, yeah.
for Jillian, because that's because and Road Gypsy answered it. I think Bethany answered it, or Hannah did. That's because of the day they were found, identification, reunification with family, and so the reason. I think it's kind of almost a common sense reason, I would say, but Road Gypsy, you can correct me. I know you've got some understanding. That's the first day they know for certain in finding them. And I'm sure the coroner can go back and say something else, but that makes the most sense when it comes to definitive dates. Elephant in the room, Paul Grice. Bethany,
Right.
you are such, that's awesome.
Kind of, sort of, huh? Let's see. Let me share.
So I'll tell you that through my conversations, the things that I learned and the things I could verify, and I'll be honest that the tips that I had to share, I just don't buy what News Nation reported on. I am going to throw that out there because it's out there that Paul Grice, they say he was questioned and released. That may be, but his involvement, I don't see how he's not involved. I really don't.
I don't
CW
either.
from the affidavit makes it clear that the 5 of them made not 1 but 2 attempts on Veronica's life. Paul Grice is a man in his 30s. He's I think he's like the baby of a very large family, rough minister father type situation. So he's very, very devout in his religious beliefs, and he is a American State National. And so I'm very curious if some of that American State National stuff plays into this. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but
Right.
to me, that's not the elephant in the room. That's just the elephant they can't lasso in yet. Like they need to take that elephant one bite at a time to get to him. And so I don't think we've heard the last of him.
Oh
But
gosh, no, I don't think
I
so
think there's more to
either.
that story. There's more to that
And
story.
this is the part right here in the affidavit that mentions that CW asked about Jilian Kelley and why she had to die, and was told by Cora that she wasn't innocent either, as she had supported Butler.
Yeah. Yep. And Bethany Dick is on it. She's got quicker access to those documents than you do because she keeps coming up with our answers first. That's awesome.
She probably has a better memory.
She probably does.
It doesn't take much work to have a better memory than me, though.
So, and Road Gypsy's saying based on the experience, there's a firsthand situation where Road Gypsy is concerned. Date of recovery, identification, family notification. That's the formal date. So there we go. And then that's with the law enforcement that was involved. I bet that's spot on for sure. That's why I asked Road Gypsy to chime in on that. And she also says such a big elephant in the room. Paul Grice and the cooks. The cooks are, I can't say that they're not involved. I'm just not convinced. In things like this, I've told Kari. In fact, I was just telling her and the team today. I keep my eyes open to possibilities and opportunities until it is definitive. I just keep the door open and see what walks through. So I don't think we've heard the last of the cooks or Paul Grice.
I don't either. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know how you can be that close. I mean, the kids stayed the night overnight. They knew there was a birthday party going on, yet Tiffany had ordered her own cupcakes and cake. I don't know. It doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up for me. And I don't want to accuse anybody, but I'm just saying it doesn't add up. So we'll see what comes of it.
Bethany Dick says she has a freak memory and obsessive. We like that. We like that a lot.
At least the memory part. So with Paul Grice, the nationalism issue is seriously holding him off from being responsible. I don't think so. I think that, I don't know, they need more. I don't know.
I think they need more too. And I've pondered with a couple of theories on my own that I've not really sure if they make sense. I'm just waiting to see what comes out. But I'm kind of curious with what appears to be the leaders of with the main families, the main 4 inner families of the misfits, with them being occupied, as it were. What if they're protecting, what if, I don't know, but you can get really out there with some of these tin hat theories. Maybe they need the leader out there for some reason. I don't know. There's got to be something that is holding them back from taking that elephant down. And I'm just going to call him the elephant. I think I'm kind of bought in on that. The pink elephant.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Kind of a good one for all of them. And, like I said, it's kind of sad because when I first went there, at least of the cooks, I was told there is no way that they could have, even with the whole God's misfits, people just could not fathom that idea. And I wasn't sold on it either. Most of you know I delete comments about it. I was like, you guys are crazy. We're not
I
here
remember.
for, yeah, I'm like, we're not here for these conspiracy theories about a butcher and blah, blah, blah. It really irritated me where that was when I think I paused the group. But,
Mhm.
but hindsight now that their name has been brought up, now people are starting to reach out a little bit with, well, there was, things that were a little off. And,
Yeah.
my son used to date, or my daughter used to date Tiffany's son a while ago. And Tiffany was very controlling. Even at that point, like she'd take the daughter's phone from her while she was visiting, so all kinds of stories, I mean, crazy kind of stories like that. And people
Mhm.
really just need to be aware, especially since there is this group going on out there. And somebody call in so we can just make sure that this works at least.
She she nailed it down tonight. We really have to try. Um, Not here for butchers and cults, and yet here we are. You're right, Knoxville. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Bethany,
and
I
and
can't agree with you more.
the other thing about Paul is, it took them a few days to track him down.
Mhm.
He was being either hiding out or hid out. He definitely has like his lifestyle. He came from. There's an article, if I can find it real quick, I can show you guys. But
Yeah.
you know what article I'm talking about, Tara, right? The one
Mhm.
about his
I
father and
do.
stuff. Let me see if I
It
can
is
find that.
it is an article that it talks about how a pastor goes to extremes, and in that it's talking about how a couple of the kids are mentioned, and Paul Grice is one of them, where Paul was riding horseback and going out and taking on coyotes at a young age. If they were threatening the herd or whatnot, just those kind of cowboy type ways that you'd see on TV. And I suppose that's very normal if you're young and get started on that and you don't have any ranch hands, you use the hands you create. Towards the end of the article, it talks about Paul's father, his name is Rance, had, I think, picked up hitchhikers, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and because Rance was a pastor, he started talking about, his faith and his beliefs, and the two in the car were like, not our thing, not really interested. At which time, um, you'll have to read the article to get finer details, but that was about the time that Rance pulled out a weapon, a pistol, and pointed it at the two and said, "If you die right now, where are you going?" And it's that type of thing. And so it's just very much very odd, eccentric behavior, I would think, for a pastor. But so that's, as soon as she finds the article, it is worth the read. It's a little bit lengthy, but it is worth the
Yeah, I
read.
have it pulled up
Um,
here. I'll read it real quick. I think you were answering Hannah's question, or somebody was about, do locals still have the feeling that people are scared, or do you see an uptick to either
yes,
people reaching out? No, I think they're still scared.
they're still reaching out to me scared. I'm not allowed to use names, or
Right.
there's some things that I paraphrase to protect those. And they check on me because they listen to the
Definitely.
lives and they let me know I'm
Hmm.
listening to you. It's like,
Yeah,
and
and
they
we
remind me, not trying to scare you, but we're just making sure you're doing right by us. Like, don't worry, I've got
definitely,
you.
yeah, and we try to protect those at all costs, so we try not to let things slip, and sometimes it's kind of, difficult. We don't let like names slip or anything like
Hmm.
that, but yeah, so real quick, and then Crunch said sorry. It's said that all the locals were aware of the misfits. No, not all of us were. Very enlightening.
There you
No, I've
go.
heard that. Not no, all the
Yep.
locals were not aware of them. That's the problem right there.
Yeah.
And we want to make you guys aware that is going on out there. There's still people,
Hmm.
whether they need to be arrested or not, that's not for me to decide. But there are still people very, very actively involved in this ideology that they have, um,
Yep.
that could continue to be a problem because, as we saw with Tiffany, she got, positions in on boards where she would have some kind of control or some kind of power
Yeah.
over things, and she wielded that. And so you got to be careful of other people that also might be involved. Um,
Agreed.
What is
Very
the
much so.
connection between Paul Grice and the Cooks? Did he marry one of their daughters? You want to answer that, Tara?
I don't believe he married one of his daughters. The Twombly boy did. Frank Twombly married one of the Cook girls. Now, what's interesting about Paul, as I have done some digging, and I will say that he was married and is divorced. I think I know he supposedly has a wife, but I am curious how that holds up with him not being a citizen and recognizing the law. Being married is a legal contract anymore, and so I've not heard or they've ever been asked or even pointed in the direction that Paul married one of the Cook daughters. So that's where we're at right now. Bethany I like what Bethany said. I'm going to jump back up to that. I just never remember a case where there were no more suspects and then an affidavit drops with an obviously involved person with no comment from law enforcement. Bethany, I
Right.
agree, and I'll tell you what. It's awfully interesting that throughout the entirety of the case, prior to the arrests, they kept saying, we don't have any suspects. And you're like, really? Really? And then 4 magically appear out of thin air. And
Yeah.
so I don't think we are being, I don't think the OSBI or law enforcement, I don't think they're honoring transparency the way that we're trying to, but they kind of don't have to either. When they want to get their people, they are going to kind of work the communication the best they can to achieve their goal, which is ultimately getting justice for Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley and their families. That is where I stand with that. But I'm totally behind you on that one, Bethany. I think we will eventually see more arrests for sure. Do you get the impression that since people are still scared, more people are involved or under TA's control even while she's in jail? I don't know that TA has the power right now, but I think there's a power player
Yes.
out there.
That's how I
I
feel as
definitely,
well.
so I do think I continue to have people reach out to me who are very clear. They fear retaliation
Mm-hmm.
from Tiffany. I don't know how exactly. When I've tried to get that information, they've just made it clear that yes, she's being housed by the law enforcement at taxpayer costs, mind you, but they still fear what the capabilities are. So that tells me there's a reach out there that goes beyond Tiffany, but was attached to Tiffany the entire time, which is why the elephant in the room intrigues me as something that they're taking one bite at a time.
It does me too, as well as like OSBI, like you said, Tara, they kept a lot to themselves, a whole lot. We're like, where is a press conference? What is this guy on TV even talking about? Why is he wasting his time? People were getting
Right.
upset. As somebody that covers true crime, I got it, but it was still a little frustrating. Like, give us more, give us more. We always want more. It's not our right to have that information, but um, I always found it a little interesting that local law enforcement was kept out of the entire picture. I don't know if that's
Yes.
normal, or if it's even a normal or abnormal kind of thing. I just found that was, to me, that was interesting as to why all local law enforcement was kept out of it. Just
Yeah, there's been
another avenue to go down.
yep, it really is.
All right. So real
You,
quick, this article, this is about
mm-hmm.
Paul Grice's dad. Okay. This is back in January of 2001 in Kenton. Even the evangelists in no man's land are tough. Consider Rance Grice, the first preacher I met in the Panhandle. Rance is the pastor of the only Baptist church in Kenton, which is the only Oklahoma town in the Mountain Time Zone. At the moment, his church is without a deacon, Truman Tucker having died in the autumn after more than 50 years of ringing the bell atop Kenton Baptist Church. Pastor Grice and his family live in the log cabin parsonage next door to the church, where in the summer they raise the windows for service. They had 9 children. One of the daughter's chores is to shush their dogs when they bark during the sermon. Another of her chores is to milk Betty Buttercup, who lives in a barn behind the parsonage and is about 2 months away from calving. When I met the Grices, Buttercup had been sporting an attitude. I have a bruise about yay big, so I'm a little leery, Esther said, pointing to her left knee. In self-defense, she tied Buttercup's legs to a post in the barn for milking. That's a half hitch, in case you didn't know, she said to me as she tied Buttercup's leg. I, of course, didn't know. She tucked Buttercup's thrashing tail in the crook of her wounded knee. Buttercup usually gives a gallon morning and night, more when she's eating protein cakes. Once she has milked Buttercup, I'm sorry, I'm trying hard not to laugh here with Buttercup, Betty Buttercup. Esther strains the milk, pours it into gallon jugs, and marks it with a date and an A for morning and P for evening before putting it into their extra refrigerator. John Grice, 14, and Paul, 8. So in 2001, Paul was 8 years old. They were born in boots and cowboys' hats. They're learning to ranch at the knee of their father, who runs his own herd of cattle and works on other ranches in between preaching. Janice, their mother, schools the children at home in addition to running the household, horses, and help move their herd. In the spring of 99, Paul and John helped their father track a mountain lion that was killing goats. The cat weighed 107 pounds. Paul weighed 46 at the time. The kids are cowpokes to their toes, which are wedged into their pointy toe boots. A pair of kid-size hand-me-down boots hang on the stone fireplace. The left boot is wrapped in duct tape, which is how Esther wore them before her parents finally retired them. I have a friend who worked at a morgue, Rance Grice reports. He says you can always tell the cowboys when they are laying there because their toes are all scrunched up from their boots. But to the matter of tough evangelism, Rance tells the time he picked up 2 young hitchhikers along the highway. As Baptist preachers do, Rance steered the conversation to the matter of the saving grace of Jesus. His passengers, however, were a bit cocky and not really interested in his conversation. So the good pastor pondered the possibilities and presently pulled his pistol from underneath his seat, and in a rapid motion, he put it to the head of the man by the window. Where would you go, he asked, if I pulled the trigger? From that moment, Pastor Grice assures, the young men developed a real interest in hearing about the Lord.
Probably would too if I thought my life was on the line.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, tell me everything you got.
Yeah.
What do I need? Tell me it all.
I got nothing but time.
Right?
Just save me here. Literally put the gun down. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. There's the comments are starting to come in. This is getting exciting. I think you're giving Tiffany way more credit for her power than there actually is. Her family had a significant amount of land. Tiffany operated a snow cone operation and landscape business. I don't have too many, and I don't carry.
But that's
It
not
seems
all
like
she
you.
did. I mean, okay, so
No.
here's an example, okay? And it's a real example that we know is a fact, okay? Tad spent 2 weeks prior to this incident of murdering 2 women. For 2 weeks prior to that incident, he hung out with a local judge every day doing business. Now, you tell me there's not some kind of power, and I'm not saying that judge is involved. That is not what I'm saying. But you got friends in high places, you got friends in low places. And apparently they had friends in both places, I think. There was those that thought very highly of them and never saw this kind of side of them. And there were others that had seen this side and were definitely, afraid of them and afraid of retaliation of any type. And so a lot of people just didn't say anything. But it looks like, according to that affidavit, law enforcement is well aware that they've made multiple threats, at least to Veronica and to Wrangler previously.
Yeah, I agree. And the power that we're talking about, it's been from a lot of different sources. And I mean, maybe it doesn't seem like power, but to some people, maybe it's a lot more than it would be to others. And so if it's enough fear factor there, and I've been told that Tiffany's family at one point was a very prominent family, and they yielded and wielded a lot of power and a lot of opportunity in that area. Some things took place. I think it had to do with Tiffany's father dying and all that estate stuff and what have you, and that may have shifted the balance a little bit. but it doesn't seem to change that people said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you this information, but please be very careful in how you use it and share because it will get back to me, and I don't want her to know I said it." That tells me there's something going on there,
Oh
and it
yeah.
affects everybody differently.
I still get at least, I don't know, 10, 20 messages a day with the same thing. Like, I want to tell this, but you can't say that I told you this kind of thing. I think a lot of that is people just needing to get things off their chest. And that's
Mhm.
fine because Tara and I are a safe place to do that with. 90% of the information that we've been told, we've never even shared it. So um, I think that they feel safe enough to come to us with a lot of
Mhm.
that. But there still is a, I mean, there still is a definite fear. Um, I think it's somebody said, is it power or intimidation with attorneys? I mean, I think it's a
To
whole
some people, that's the same
combination of
thing.
things.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something going on down there and has been, and I'm getting stories about a play recently where, Tiffany may have made
Yeah, the
it
East
was
was
able to. No, this was something more
not the Easter
recent
play.
that. No, that was at the Easter pageant is something. This was entirely different, where there was a, play or performance or some sort of it was from the, co-op homeschool thing, and,
Wow.
one of Veronica's littles was a little shy about performing, and, as the story goes, Tiffany shut down made everything stop, and then went on stage with the granddaughter, which to some, it looks like Granny's just trying to help things along. And to others, it looked like an absolute look at me spectacle. So just depend. Yeah, so it's about perspective, right? I've heard that story from a couple of different folks who said that's not a big deal. That's the kind of grandmother she was. She was always trying to support whatever. And then I was like, and then somebody else was like, that was an absolute look at me, look what I can do. So perspectives do mean a lot when it comes to a small community, and people are going to pick up on those perspectives, and that's how they know how to yield power, how to develop power. It's mental power is what it sounds like. Um, Local law enforcement did not respect the court decision about Wrangler's custody. Is this why local law enforcement kept out of info updates? That could be. That
That
very well
could
could
be.
be.
I still wonder if there's not been a little bit of corruption
Mhm.
in the different counties. Absolutely. I still think that. I don't think that's changed at all. But yeah, the local law enforcement wrangler would go and try to get his kids from her after her not letting them see her, letting him see them for months. And he would wind up calling the sheriff, and the sheriff would say, I think they're better off with her. While the legal
Yeah.
paperwork says that he has custody. Make it make
Mhm.
sense.
Right.
And then
Right.
who are you going to go to after that? There is nobody. There is
Yeah,
nobody.
no,
And
there
she was
isn't.
paying his attorney, bills. And so, yeah, where are you going to go if you call your local law enforcement and you get no help?
Exactly. Uh, eclectic, I keep wanting to say electric, eclectic cowboy. Tad isn't the most intelligent and doesn't appear the municipal judge was either. Tad, Tad's parents are wonderful people. He was adopted and always tried to fill much bigger shoes than capable. Eclectic cowboy, it's funny that you say that because I heard Tad was very intelligent, but not the type of intelligence that would plan something like this. The overwhelming theme was this is definitely Tiffany oriented because Tiffany would be the one running the show between the two of them. And so it's interesting that you say that. So I'm kind of curious as to what the intelligence factor means when it comes to Tad, because I've heard both. Was he ranch intelligent, smart, farm intelligent, but not strategically savvy in terms of planning this kind of thing? So I think it's a really interesting conversation to explore.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know a whole lot about Tad. Um what I have been told is he wasn't always crazy like this. A lot of that
Yep.
happened when he got with Tiffany, and that was I think 8, 9 years ago, something like that. But it's really, it appears, at least to me, that it's been over the last year or couple of years where things really started going south as far as them getting super involved in this. I'm sorry, but what to me is just crazy ideology. If you want to denounce your United States citizenship, then please don't let the door hit you in the ass. That's how I feel about it. But they started getting really heavy into that kind of thing. And some of those, I mean, like, I get some of it, like the school and, the education portion, some of that I can go with, but some of it's just outright loony to me and obviously to so many others.
It is something else. Yeah, I agree. It sounds like the local system, they had power as well because of the relationships with the authorities. And hopefully that goes out the window with more or less
Mhm.
now.
Yes.
That would be, I hope so.
Well,
I
and
really
I
hope
think that,
so.
like, just bringing awareness to the communities out there that this has been going on, this is going on. Um, you know, I don't think that this group of misfits, are this horrible group. I think these people are horrible, but the others, I think, a lot of it's curiosity. They might have gone to a couple meetings. I don't know. I'll be honest, we haven't had many talk to us. So, they're always welcome to reach out. We'll definitely tell their side of things with a way that we're not giving away who they are. Um, I think Tara, just as much as myself, we both like to have both sides of the story. So
Hmm.
I've heard the bad things, like what I, read the other night, but I also told you guys good things that I'd heard too. So yeah, as the saying goes, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with BS.
It does sum her up pretty well, I think. Oh, goodness. Sounds like PG might be a legend in his own mind with the way he was raised, with the dad taking him hunting when he's 46 pounds, maybe third grade, and the stories of his dad, self-righteous, pulling a gun. It's quite the story. It really is. You got to imagine how that sets somebody up to contribute to society. So it's mind-boggling that something like that can happen. Very much so. There was a question about if we know how, does anyone know from the Island Girl? Does anyone know how the family of Jillian is doing? Was it just coincidence? She was with Veronica that day as supervisor. Um, I am in contact with a member of Jillian's family, and I think I'm trying to see my text looks like you have two L's in there, and there's only one L in her name, which is actually significant for Jillian. Um, her name was spelled with one L to avoid her being called Jill. The idea was that she would always be called Jillian. I thought that was very precious. But the family's managing as best they can. Um, was it a coincidence that it was Jillian that day? That I don't know. I think Jillian was the first go-to, but
Hmm.
Tiffany didn't like it. So the court order was whoever got to pick to have the supervisor had to pay for it. And so Tiffany, as it would be easy to assume, wanted control over situations. And so her picking and paying for the supervisor makes the most sense. Now, that particular day, the supervisor that Tiffany would often pick, which was Cheryl Bruni, was told by Tiffany, you can take a few weeks off. Won't be needing you. Want to see how Veronica's supervisors do. Want to see what the kids say about those visits. And so Veronica was told, you need to produce somebody. And it happened to be Jillian. And Jillian was often happy to help her with that when that opportunity would arise. Who is keeping law
It's a
enforcement
very good
accountable
question,
going
Hannah.
forward?
Yeah.
It really is. I'm eager to hear that one too. Very eager.
Well,
Um,
I mean, your community has to. When you have the local elections, you need to really look into who you're voting for if you vote. Make sure you know who you're voting, not just because they're your friend or you heard good things about them. Actually, do your own kind of research on them. I think that's the best way for any community to hold their
mhm.
local law enforcement or their local government accountable. I've been guilty of it myself. I'll go vote and I'll just check off a name because I haven't heard anything. Well,
Mhm.
look into it a little bit deeper. Look into who, you're voting for sheriff or who your county commissioners are and things like that, because they're the ones that are going to clear up the corruption. And if everybody sits back and doesn't discuss it and they don't talk about it and they keep things to themselves, like what appears to me sadly has happened for so long, then now we have a situation like this. And I'm just speaking on my own behalf, I still think that there, is some kind of corruption that at least helped assist with all of this stuff over the last few years. Like the corruption I mean is like Wrangler calling the sheriff and his mom turning around and calling the same sheriff, and that sheriff saying, "Well, I think their kids are better off with her." Well, that's not
Mhm.
what the law and the court says. So that's not your judgment call. You know what I mean?
Right.
So things like that, we have to, as members of the community, we have to hold them accountable.
Agreed. Agreed. Have you talked to Cheryl Bruni? No. Oh, thank you for doing these podcasts. My prayers go out to the families. I'm glad we are a DP state. Yes. Yeah, I am too. I'm glad you guys are a DP state. I think it's warranted here.
Yeah, and
So we've,
Cheryl's listed as a witness, so I'm not sure
mm-hmm,
she will speak to anybody. We did kind of giggle because News Nation did reach out to her.
mm-hmm.
My guess is she's going to politely decline or ignore that request, but I haven't reached out. Like I typically just don't do that. It's if they come to me. Now I'm still waiting to hear back from Frank. I can tell you that. It would tickle me to pieces, Frank, if you just respond to my message. It was very nice. I
That would
just
be
kind of want to
great.
see where he's at. What was he thinking? What's going on here? I'm really curious. I'm really curious. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean it mean at all. I want to be like, hey, you know, about those comments. And what do you think? And what do you think now? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Road Gypsy said, Sunday night scary setting in. Come on, let's test out these calling capabilities. I know 2 nights ago I had somebody call immediately and I couldn't figure it out, so we couldn't do it. And then now we don't have anybody. So you never know.
Oh, does it? Oh, Blue Sky says, I can't remember if it says when TA told Veronica that Bruni wouldn't be available. Does it specify? I don't recall that being a detail we could put on the timeline yet. I don't think we know exactly. At
Let me
least in the
see.
affidavit, the affidavit just says, if I rember,
You're going to remember
Tiffany
much
told.
better than I am, but I'm looking for it while you talk.
Well, I think it was stated that Tiffany just told Bruni um, she wouldn't need her. She was going to make Veronica pay for it, or Veronica's. She wanted to see, that was her justification for giving Bruni the time off, to see how Veronica's supervisors would be. And so I don't know. I, I think it was a ploy to ensure that nobody Tiffany knew would be there that day, because they'd been planning this.
Yeah, so it just
Um,
says Adam said Bruni was unavailable. Well, first, Adams had a particular person she preferred to supervise those visitations, and that was Cheryl Bruni. Tiffany said that Bruni was unavailable to supervise the visitation on that day, March 30th of this year. So Veronica was required to arrange the supervision with one of her 3 approved individuals. She contacted Kelley and planned to have her supervise. And like I said, Kelley had Jilian had supervised before, so that might have been, her go-to.
mhm.
But typically, Tiffany, she had the upper hand in that
Mhm.
somehow.
Yes. It just rang, then went to voicemail. What just rang and went to voicemail, Lynn? What are you up to? Who are you calling? Oh, she just called you. She tried to call you. That's what I thought. We were just talking about Franklin. I thought maybe you just called him up like you knew him. She's trying to call the phone number. It rang and went to voicemail. So she's trying
What?
to try it again.
Yeah, try it again. I don't know why it would go to a voicemail because I have it pulled up.
Okay, Road Gypsy was on the same page as me. I was like, whoa, she's gonna get serious with us. Like, let's go. A little bit of peer pressure. Oh, perhaps intelligent isn't the right word. Business acumen. Most things he tried never really worked out. He was a lot of bark with little bite, is what Eclectic Cowboy says. Okay, now that's okay. So that makes sense.
So
Kind
he's
of a
all right.
BS or maybe
Is
Eclectic?
Electric Cowboy talking about Tad? Is that who he's
Yeah,
talking about?
he's
Okay.
commenting on my intelligent comment. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then Diesel says you girls are amazing and very proud of you both and proud of those who help investigating and bringing the truth always. Thank you, Diesel. There's a lot of people that are trying to make right what's going on. Oh, I tried. Okay, Lynn said she tried calling in.
Okay, let me see.
Checking on. See, technology is supposed to make life easier. I call shenanigans. Bethany says Tiffany has no regard for human life and likely didn't care at all which of
There we
these
go.
three supervisors joined the day. And then, ironically, her chosen supervisor was a crucial part in breaking the case. Bethany, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think
This is Kari?
I think there was
This is
a hope
Lynn.
that this would be swept under the rug and go away. Did you fix it? Is that what I heard you just say?
Yeah, so we have somebody on the
Good.
line. I don't know what was going on.
Great.
I didn't touch anything, I promise.
Oh no,
But
I know. It just rang and rang and rang, and then it said Google mailbox. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hang up.
right. Yeah, don't leave a voicemail. I probably won't check that. But thank you for calling in, and it seems to be working. Everybody can hear you just fine, I think.
I hope so. I
I
turned
can't hear
I
her.
have the thing going, but I had it paused, so
Let
I don't
me,
hear
I'm
you
going to
guys
mute
talking at
myself
all.
so I can turn up my other volume so I can hear her.
Okay, perfect, because I can hear her. All right. Well, look at you being brave and being the first one to call. I thought you're really so you're only the second person that's ever called into my YouTube channel, by the way. So thank you
Well,
for
this
being
time,
brave enough to
first
do
time
it.
I called in. This was the first time calling in. The second or the first time I was actually on your panel.
Tara, we have feed, or actually, Leanne, you might have, if you have your YouTube on in the background, shut it off, or we have feedback from Tara. One of the two, but we can hear you.
Okay, well, I closed mine out.
Okay, perfect. There's no feedback now, so go right ahead.
I'm wondering, does anyone have any more information or know anything about that Kevin McIntyre?
Tara, are you able to hear her? She's asking if anybody has more information about Kevin McIntyre. So, okay, so Tara's hopping out and coming back in. So, my understanding, Kevin is in law enforcement. He's lifelong law enforcement. He's on the witness list. And other than that, we really don't know much more. I mean, do I think he's involved? I don't. Um, I don't think that he's involved at all. But he's definitely, somebody that was investigating this. Can you hear now,
Okay.
Tara?
Yes, I can hear now.
Okay, perfect. So she was asking about if we had any information about the Kevin McIntyre, and maybe you can answer that a little better than I was able to. Way to put you on the spot, huh?
I'm all good with that. So he has law enforcement type background. I don't know what I've heard various things about him from you should really look into him to he's a great guy, don't worry about him. And so we still have some varying type of comments and concerns on that. So we get those kind of things, we kind of wait for something else to emerge. Sometimes it's just that perspective that emerges more than anything. And so nothing concrete, nothing exciting. There's nothing that we can definitively and add to the conversation. There's just nothing there that's concrete that I think is worth sharing. Because I don't like to get the rumor mill started. I want to be very careful when I share something and want to make sure I share the right thing for the right reason. So
Yeah, I think
it's a
it's been,
boring answer.
that's why I put that in those slides. I think that that's been said, that that's probably, or that was possibly the person following. And I just wanted to make it clear that that vehicle, first of all, is not one that he drives anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And second, that vehicle does not come back to him. So from there, I mean, that's all I can state as factual. The rest is he is involved in this entire investigation, and he's listed as one of the state's witnesses. So I think that's where we're at with that. I'd like to be able to shut down a rumor, but all we can say is what we know that's factual. So hopefully that doesn't answer you all that well, but hopefully a little bit.
I've got nothing of interest.
Yeah, I was a little confused because when I was reading it, there was a Kevin McIntyre that was, looked upon in like 2007 for like embezzlement. I didn't know if it was the same guy or somebody else.
I saw
Go
that
ahead,
too.
Tara.
I did
Go
see
ahead.
that too. I was trying to make those connections because of he's made several arrests out there, drug charges related. And so I don't know that those charges went through. I didn't see anything continue on that. I didn't find anything worthwhile. So it kind of fizzled out, that particular story. So, and of course, I get into one rabbit hole, and then I get pulled off into another rabbit hole. So I have to go find my position in that rabbit hole and continue digging to see what's there.
Yeah, at this point, we don't have much like to connect him with anything of, wrongdoing. Hannah said, I read the judge was there when arrests were made, but then he did an interview and was fired. What does he really know? Well, that's exactly what we know, Hannah. He was there when Tad was arrested. He had been working with Tad for the 2 weeks prior. He did the News Nation interview, and then, yes, he was fired.
Yep. Yep. Are the kidnapping charges because they took the women, or is it because they kept the kids from the exchange? So, according to Oklahoma state law, we actually had an Oklahoma lawyer on the line a couple of times. The same lawyer has been in here, and kidnapping is defined. One of the first definitions of kidnapping is deterring somebody from their path. So, in terms of, as the affidavit said, there was a roadblock that forced Jilian and Veronica off their designated path, the path they chose to get to their designation. That right there is kidnapping. When you force somebody off the road in a vehicle, then that would be kidnapping. So that could be what the charges are. We don't have enough information to share to say it's anything else, but that definitively puts the kidnapping charges in play, if nothing else.
Right. Yeah.
What else have we got? Is Lynn still on the line?
She is.
Okay.
You still there, Lynn?
I am.
All right.
All right. I can't see her on the line, so I'm like, did we knock her off?
I feel like I'm missing stuff. I can't read the text. I can't read nothing.
Oh no. Oh my goodness. What else is it? There we go. I don't know if it would have made a difference who V chose. Remember, the Twombly's told their daughter the night before they were going on a mission, but Tiff didn't call V to get her own until that day. Didn't called V to get her own until that day. She didn't call to get her own supervisor until that day. Is that what you're trying to say, Lobo Lady? I want to make sure I understand that correctly.
That's what she's saying. I'm not positive on that. When that call was made.
There was a call that morning at 9 o'clock per the affidavit where Tiffany claims she called Veronica to supposedly confirm the exchange, and Veronica said, I'm not going to make it. Something's come up. And so that was Tiffany's story, but when in fact Veronica was on her way to pick up Jilian to go down to get the kids. And so I think I don't know the timeline of when that call was made, but it sounds like that because she was en route to get Jilian, that particular request was carried out earlier to have a supervisor on Veronica's behalf. That's what I would think. I think Bethany Dick says, I think she told law enforcement Veronica said she couldn't make it that day. Yeah, 9 o'clock in the morning, that phone call is when Tiffany claims that Veronica was not going to make it because she had something come up. On a different day, on a different news page, they said Tiffany, the granny, told her visitation person that Veronica called her and said she couldn't make it for visitation time that day. So, according to the affidavit, Tiffany called Veronica to confirm, and Veronica said can't make it. That's per the affidavit. So that would be Tiffany's story. So I don't know the news page. I haven't heard anything different, but I've only been following a few other news stations. I kind of got grossed out in my previous interactions with some news stations kind of makes it hard to watch
Right.
them at times. I'm just like, oh, that's what that sound was. Lynn's call dropped. She lost service. I was like, what is that noise?
Oh, yeah. I thought she hung up. She was like, you're not paying attention. I thought she hung up. Yeah, she probably dropped.
Okay, so Hannah Allen, we've all seen reports of Tiff confession, but then I've heard Cora would be the one to talk. Thoughts? I think there's and I need to look it up, and if there's a lawyer on the line, please step up and let us know. I'm curious if there's not a difference between the word taking responsibility and confession. And
Yes, me too.
the reason I say this, Oklahoma has varying definitions for homicide. There's excusable homicide, justifiable homicide, first degree murder. And so the excusable is one of those that says you're responsible for the murder because you believed there was harm to somebody else. You believed you're helping, you're protecting. I believe that's the excusable one. And so that's why when I saw that it was very clear that they have a recording of Tiffany taking responsibility. I think that's an important word. Just like kidnapping, we all think of kidnapping is you stop somebody and you physically remove them and take off with them. Where we find out in Oklahoma, it's just merely redirecting somebody off their path when they're driving. That's just one of the definitions. So I'm very, very
Yeah.
curious.
And if there's an attorney in here familiar with Oklahoma law, please call.
Oh gosh, yes.
Tara and I kind of gone back and forth with this. What exactly does it mean by she admitted responsibility?
Yeah, I don't think it's a confession in the means of confession because she
Yeah,
did plead
I
not
don't think we're
guilty.
going to get a recorded confession
But wouldn't
tape in a
that be
trial.
beautiful?
That would be beautiful, but I'm not seeing Tiffany Adams being that
Yeah.
type of woman. Not at all.
No, not this. No.
I see her being defiant more than anything. Like, yeah, I did. She was doing this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't know about the rest. Jane MC, 2 counts kidnapping for taking Veronica and Jilian off the route. So the 6 counts kidnapping for each. I think that was a clerical error in the very beginning. And I know that I reported that, but it did say 6 counts of kidnapping. However, it was like count 3, 3, and 3, count 4, 4, and 4. You know what I mean? So I think it was a clerical error. And there are 2 counts of kidnapping.
For each of them.
Yes, for each of them.
That's all we can do, Crunch. We don't know anything else. We know rumor, but we're trying to clear those up as we can.
Yeah, we know a lot of rumor. We know a lot of stuff, but not stuff that we could back up factually to talk about or anything. And neither one of us want to spread any rumors. The situation's already bad enough as it is without that kind of rumor. And speculation is totally fine. That's what the group is there for now. The channel, some speculation is fine. But definitely, if we know it's a rumor, we're going to shut it down quickly.
Yep. Oh, what do you think the timeline will look like? Oh,
yes, Lynn was on panel on the last live when I couldn't get the phones to work out. So thank you so much, Lynn. We really appreciate you. Truly do. And then, what will the timeline look like since there is 4 of them?
I don't know that 4 is the magic number.
I don't either. I said from the very beginning when I got out there would be 5 or 6 arrested eventually. I also said I also said I'm not so sure that the others will be arrested in direct connection with this, but I do feel there will still be more arrests. But I'm could be wrong. I'm human. Knoxville agent said, "Hold on, girls. You never know." I'm holding. I am
Mm-hmm.
holding on because I still feel there's going to be more. And then Knoxville agent again said, "It's really going to be interesting as this plays out. Will they be tried as 4 defendants or individual?" I think they'll be tried individually.
I imagine it's what their lawyers want to do because they'll have a better chance of.
Well, especially for the other 3.
Yeah.
Tiffany's
Yeah.
going to be the one with a really hard time because she was the one with all the motive. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know that they're going to want to lump them all into one big group. I don't think they will.
No, I think that's some of the things I'm interested to see is the strategies that the folks that would actually defend these individuals will come up with to pursue the not guilty. That it doesn't feel right to think that they could actually be found not guilty because there's 4 individuals out there that want to prove that.
Yes.
That's so striking and so hard to it's as hard to wrap my brain around that as this whole situation. I totally feel like Cora would not be the one to confess. From CW's statement, she seemed pretty fervent. I think it's hard to read those statements. I don't know what the dynamics were between Cora and CW, so it's hard to say. I've heard a lot of things about Cora, and
Yeah.
I know that these actions are tearing people up because they just
Mhm.
cannot fathom.
They
This is
can't
really
comprehend that she did
not at
this
all.
or participated. And that goes
So
for all of them, really. I mean, they're the only ones I haven't had come to me are people really defending Tiffany or Tad. Now,
mhm.
Core and Cole, most definitely, I've had so many people just like destroyed, and Tara does as well.
Mhm. I'm glad you feel comfortable talking.
Yes, thank you. How long do we believe it'll
Oh,
take? Years and years? Makes me sad for the families. Well, things like this definitely do take a long time. I wouldn't expect it anytime soon. I'd say at least 1 year, at least 1 year.
I would
And
think
it very
so.
well could be longer than that. It really could be. It'll be interesting to see what attorneys that they um, obtain.
Mhm.
If indeed they are 3 of them are going to obtain their own attorneys, that'll be interesting. I'm still trying to figure out how Cole at least how Cole is going to be able to pay for all that.
Well,
Unless somebody knows something I don't know, I don't think Cole and Cora had that kind of money, or
well, and that's
even
not
land, or any of that. I'm not sure.
well, and that's not to say that if their group, their misfit group, if they don't have
Definitely
fundraising
might pitch
opportunities,
in. Yep,
there's opportunities there that we might not be aware of.
exactly. And Knoxville agent said change of venue is definitely coming.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty certain that will happen. Hopefully it's coming my way. My husband and I were actually
Oh,
talking about that. I'm like, okay, well, if they do a change of venue, where would it go next? Yeah, hopefully it's a little closer, but I 100% plan on being there no matter where it's at. But I would think that trying to try that there would be
it's
difficult,
it's
to
not
say the least.
possible.
I mean, there's people that, for instance, Cheryl, right? Cheryl, the one that
Cheryl
was
Bruni.
okay.
Mhm.
So, for instance, she holds positions, Republican positions, different boards, things
Yeah.
like that. Works for the courthouse, all sorts of things. So, how can you have all these people so intertwined and then not expect a change of venue? I expect that at least one of the defense attorneys is definitely going to ask for that, and I wouldn't blame them one bit.
No, I don't see how they can with the amount of fear factor and rumors of corruption. I just think it's just not a big enough community to support a trial of that magnitude at all.
Mm-mm, I don't think
Her own
so either.
supervisor, yeah, her own supervisor. That's my understanding. Did they all get appointed counsel or did some get private counsel? I think you've got that one, Kari.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
it seems that three of them are asking for their own, or they're gonna obtain and pay for their own counsel, and then Cora has already filed to have a public defender. But it's a DP case, so that
hmm
much I know, and it
yeah.
will be a DP case. I don't expect any plea deals or anything like that. I think that law enforcement has
Oh,
all the evidence that they need without needing any kind of plea deal from any of the four. Um, I don't know. That's that's a lot of money. I hope they have a whole lot of money because it's not like a DP attorney. There's specific ones that can represent you. So not every attorney can try a DP case. And then typically, anytime there's a DP case, you've got a team of at least two or three, right?
hmm
So I don't know. We'll see who actually gets private counsel, and it'd be interesting to find out where the money for that private counsel comes from.
Agreed. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
Jennifer has the same question we do. What
Yeah.
could she possibly mean by saying she takes responsibility? Hopefully, eventually, somebody will that
Give
has
us some,
legal
yeah,
knowledge that we don't have
give us
will
some
answer this question.
clarification.
Yes,
Yeah, that would be great. I may have to I knew how to get a hold of that gal that had talked to us. So
me too.
is
Island girl. Yeah, go ahead, Tara.
is it for certain that the children's father knew nothing about their plan? That's our understanding. We don't have anything concrete to back that up. We've not talked to Wrangler. But the idea is that Wrangler's not the most innocent of the bunch, but he's not one to do this. He loved his children very much. He was very much trying to work with Veronica on the on co-parenting. It was a lot of Tiffany pushing, pulling, and bullying, and so the thought is that no, the overwhelming thought that from those I've talked to is that they don't believe he knew about
No.
this plan.
Mm-mm. No, all the family I've spoken with, all the close friends I've spoken with have said absolutely not. He knew, like previously, his mom had made threats, and that's brought up in the affidavit. She had made threats. She made multiple threats. Um, but was he okay with that? I don't think so at all. I do not think so. He's got his own set of issues that hopefully he pulls through and works on those. But as far as this is concerned, or if he did, maybe she said something to him and he blew her off, like, oh, you said that before kind of thing. I just don't know.
Right.
But I hate to think that he had I really do, because my understanding is he was kind of trying to pull it together there, and then he just didn't. So, Micah, you're so welcome. I know that if we spread rumor and we made it drama filled, we could have 1,000 people watching us right now,
hmm
but that's just not what we're here for at all.
No.
So, Katie said, I think it was put not guilty because the death penalty is a possibility. Well, I'm not real certain. I want to say that the judge entered that on their behalf until attorneys are appointed or
hmm
are obtained, because they can't give that. They can't say they're guilty or not guilty until they really have an attorney present, or they're going to go pro se and represent themselves.
Oh boy.
That would be something else. But I don't think that'll happen.
No.
Cora's ex's family seemed to really like her from the rabbit hole I went down. Bethany, we've heard many people really like her.
Yeah.
I mean, truly. That's why people are in so much shock. Like, how did it get from point A to point B? How did she go from being this, person, and her husband too, that would hold 4-H, things for the children in the
Oh
community,
yeah.
and do all these different things to go from that, where you've had your children at their home and things like that, to doing something like this is mind blowing for people, and those close especially. It's been
hmm
said by many times by another channel he was chasing y'all one night. So what I am saying on that, Sassy Girl, is that there is one night I know exactly what that vehicle was. Chevy Camaro. There is a call.
It's
Hello, this is Kari.
Hello. My name is Kathy. Please don't put my name on your TV.
Okay,
Your
well, don't say your
station.
last name,
I'm
Kathy. Don't say your last name.
Phillips.
Okay. Nope.
Phillips. Yeah, I'm from Oklahoma, born and bred. Muskogee. I was born in Muskogee. Raised over by Fort Smith, Arkansas. I just want to say that I don't think that these people's trial, if they have a trial in Texas County or Cimarron County or anywhere that these four people are well known, that the trial is going to be fair for this reason. People are so afraid of them that they're not. I mean, look, if you were picked for the jury and you thought, not these people, but the people that they know and their associates, could burn your house down. You catch what I'm saying, don't you? I mean, where are they going to try these people?
That's a good point.
So I think it would be moved to what? You've got Woods
About
County.
maybe the middle of the state, because I
That's
don't want it
kind of
over
what
here
I'm
with
thinking.
me.
Yeah, maybe
Okay,
more
I'm
towards
hoping.
Enid, Oklahoma City area, possibly.
Yeah.
I know that people in this area, they don't know about this. Like, people think everybody know, and everybody does not know. Everybody in that community does, but I think they can move
I've
it
been following
even to Alva
this
would
since,
help.
Since the day it began. And, my first question, of course, when I heard that there was custody is, where are the kids? Who has the kids and where's the daddy? This is horrible. This is a horrible, horrible thing. How many little kids now are without their mamas? And did this grandma, how could she look into the face of them little children and swear to God she loved them, and when she took the life of their mother? She's a nut. The whole group looks kind of fruity to me. And I was raised down here I was raised in a little bitty town and went to school with the same 27 kids my whole life. And there's some fruitcakes down here. And I was raised around fruitcakes. But these people, they ought to have an award for being the fruitiest bunch I've ever seen. And this is just another point about this. Is this what methamphetamines that unfortunately this state is so overrun with? This is what it does to people. I'm 12 years older than the grandmother.
Wow.
And she looks 15 years older than me.
She sure does look like she's aged very quickly. I agree.
Like she's been rode hard and put up wet. And I tell you, that's what meth does to people. It makes them look that way. And I'll lay you odds. In fact, I'd bet my house on it. And that's how sure I am. That if they'd have drug tested these people, they'd have found out that every one of them are meth heads. And this is how they act.
I mean,
I've seen enough of this here that they think that they're smarter than everybody else, and that they can get away with stuff like this. And I just, when I see behavior like that, that's what I think. And this is just what I think. And I mean, I'm just being as honest as I can be about it. And I hate it. I hate it for these little children, and I hate it for these two ladies' families. And, and I'll tell you something, God forgive me. But, I'm thinking about the death penalty for all four of them. And that's, I usually don't think like that. And I try not to, but I don't see anything else they got coming. But listen, thank you for letting me say my opinion. I sure appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. I think you're saying what a lot of people are thinking. You're just saying it out loud, and that's wonderful. Yeah. And so I know I have talked to people and I've asked straight out, were they on drugs? You know, because we all know when people, most people, when they get on meth, they'll do crazy things that they would never
Oh,
consider
yeah.
doing.
Things that they
But
would
I'm
never
told
normally do.
they were not on drugs. That's what I'm told.
Well, then
No,
these people,
but
th-
you look
then,
at those differences in their pictures over a year's time or
yeah,
whatever. It's
over,
kind of rough.
what was it, a 4 or 5 year difference? And she looks 20 years older than she did 5 years ago. You know, they were, I just, like I said, I bet my house that they were on meth. You just can tell by looking at them. People don't always know what their neighbors are doing.
No, you don't. And obviously this is
No,
one of those awful situations where
mhm.
people, these were, supposedly quote unquote
Well,
upstanding members of the community.
sure. People was afraid to say anything else. And I'll tell you, killing for the second time, I'm a voracious murder follower and I'm a student of John Douglas. But killing the second time ain't nearly as hard as killing the first time. So something tells me that this is probably not the first time that these people have been involved in something like this. Or some kind of, I believe in some kind of murder. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Not a bit. They seem to have just, had no qualms about what they were going to do. They had tried previously to get her out of the house and kill her. That's another thing that makes me think they were on methamphetamines, because look how way off their thinking was. Think about it. Now look, if it was, say it was my daughter or my son's ex-woman, and she disappears and they think she's dead, and there was a child custody going on with me, the first thing people are going to think is, yeah, she did it, or she's got a hand in on it. And, how did these people think they were going to get away with this? Seriously. There was, I'm sorry, I'm just speechless. Just people's thinking, especially this person says they're certain that the two were not into meth. I'm sorry, but I bet you quarter they were.
Yeah, it really makes
'Cause
you wonder. So I do know, I was told originally that Wrangler was clean. And then I believe during the live the other night, I received a new message, and it was, well, now I am hearing that since December he was not. So, I mean, my first thought always goes to meth. That's where my first thought went with this whole situation.
Well, after you've seen so many people that you've known all your life that you thought had good sense, get into this stuff and do shit that just absolutely blows your mind. Because methamphetamine does something to your inhibitions. And I'm a retired nurse that used to, I can tell you how this went, but
Right.
I'm getting old and my memory's not so good. But they think it's group insanity that says here. I think that it was group drugs, and one thing just led to another.
It could be. Now, somebody did make a comment, Sunset Girl did. Alcohol will age you like that. I've had family members that drinking has aged that way. Now, I will say, although I've been told that I've never heard of any kind of drug issues with them, I have absolutely heard that both were very heavy drinkers. Very heavy drinkers. So that I've heard multiple times. And you know what? I don't know.
That will change your looks, and it will age you. But I don't, not like this. Or maybe it will. I don't know. I've not ever noticed. I've known people who drink too. It just seems like that methamphetamine does this to people, that especially that aging them so fast. But listen again. I appreciate this very much, and thank you. And that's just one person's opinion, and if you're an Okie for life, you know we all got one.
We sure do. We have lots of
And a lot of
opinions.
yeah, we do. Well, listen, thank you so much, and thank you for being on television here and telling people, you know, the truth about what's going on, because, you know, the old thing, the rumors were just running rampant, and
Yeah, and the
you know,
rumors, the rumors don't do any, they don't do any sort of good to help in any situation. They just don't.
no, they
They just
don't.
convolute
No,
the whole mess, and it makes it messier when
yeah.
it's already messy. And Tara, are you able to hear her?
Yes, I am.
What do
It says
you,
that
what are
here. It
your
says that she's a
thoughts?
rancher and she works outside a lot. You know, and I still say that she aged a whole lot quicker. You know, it was only in a 5-year period. She aged about 15 years. And that's the way that it looks.
That is the
So,
way it looks.
I don't know. I
It
just
does
think
look
the
that
whole
way.
4 of them are nuts and are just, and they're, you know, something is going to happen to them, something bad. And look, the Lord, if they don't get dealt with here, they're going to get dealt with in another place. And I trust the Lord that I believe in to fix these folks.
Yep, you've got that right. And I'm not so sure it's the same Lord they believe in, but I agree
I
100%.
agree with that. I agree with that. Well, honey, thank you so much for talking to me, and I sure appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much for calling. We appreciate you very
You bet.
much. You have a wonderful
Thanks,
night.
ma'am.
Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
She had a lot of good points. What are your thoughts, Tara? A lot of that, I mean, I won't lie. She said a lot of how I felt, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my head went. But I was just curious of what your thoughts, if you had any thoughts on that.
I'm not sure about the. Oh, you've got another caller.
So absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I'm definitely here.
Hello.
Caller, did you hear me? I said, please do not announce your name, your phone number, nothing shows up. So,
Okay, awesome. So I knew, I have a couple questions, but first I was just going to give a little background. I knew Veronica growing up. I'm from the area. And my first question was to go back on the last caller. I also did hear that, well, I guess she didn't hear, but I was told from a reliable source, I don't live there currently anymore, but I was told that Cora and Cole, sorry, my son, but I was told Cora and Cole were the two that were around the mess. And then that's when, you know, Tiffany and Tad became involved, which again, I don't, you know, that's hearsay. I don't know if they were on it, but I personally, I believe too. So my question for you, Kari, is if they did get drug tested and they were able to prove that, you know, they were all 4 on drugs at the time, would that change anything? Can that be used in their defense, you know, to help them out, I guess, per se, in the trial or anything like that?
Did you get that, Kari? I don't know if Kari, are you muted?
Hello.
Yes. Can you hear me, caller? Uh-oh. Kari, I don't know that.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Uh-oh. I can't. Can you hear me? I don't think. Caller, can you hear me? This is Tara. Can anybody hear anything? Uh-oh. I think we have lost.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. I can hear you. I can hear the caller. Well,
I can hear you. Can you
okay.
hear her? Are you able to hear her, Tara?
I can hear her.
I couldn't hear you if you answered my question, but I can hear you now.
Okay.
I don't think that she can hear me.
Did you hear me at all?
I can hear you, caller, just fine. Can you hear me? Okay, I don't think the caller can hear me, Kari. So if you want to address the question, because she can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to step away for a moment to go to the restroom. What was the question?
Oh,
That's
no,
why nobody
you're
could hear me. I'm so sorry.
no, you're fine. So my question was, back to the last caller when she was talking about the meth, which I have also heard that Cora and Cole were the ones on meth, and then Tiffany and Tad also got involved towards the end. So if that does come to light, if it is true, will that help them out in their defense? Could that change anything for them with it being such a strong drug? I mean, I know that isn't an
No,
excuse by
no.
any means.
No, it won't
Okay.
help them one bit. Nope.
I did not believe so.
Mm-mm.
Um,
I mean, I'm just saying that based on my experience in watching many criminal trials. No, I don't think the excuses some people come up with are pretty far out there, but drugs is not going to hold up. Not for this at all.
right. Okay. I didn't think so. Also, I looked up what does it mean when someone takes accountability but doesn't confess? And it does say that it's refusing to fight for freedom all on my own and inviting someone specific to join me in the fight. So I'm not a lawyer by any means, but
Interesting. Read that again one more time.
okay, it says a basic definition of accountability is this: refusing to fight for freedom all on my own and inviting someone specific to join me in the fight.
That's odd.
So
That is
I
odd.
don't.
Did you heard her that time, Tara?
Oh yeah, I've been able to hear her the entire
okay,
time.
cool.
I don't think she can hear me though.
So I'm not sure what that would mean. I think it's crazy. I did not know you could take accountability, but it not be a confession. I did not know that at all.
Yeah, we didn't either. That's something we've really been trying to figure out. It's legal jargon. I mean, when we think of taking accountability, we think, well, they did a full confession kind of thing. But I
Right.
don't think we're ever going to see that tape in a trial of Tiffany Adams confessing to any of this. She took some kind of accountability, but to what extent, they don't tell us. But
Right, because
yeah,
then when she came back and said, "Well, I was at home," in the affidavit, correct? She said that I was at home with the kids, or I picked the kids up at noon, and I've been home with them.
yeah.
So that's what it was so confusing to me reading, because I was, how do you take accountability but you're at home? It just made no sense at all.
No, it doesn't. And Asterisk Galactic said too much premeditation. 100%. There's so much premeditation here. Knoxville agent,
Yeah.
premeditation plus multiple murders plus while committing a felony equals the DP. This is a DP case.
Yeah.
100% for all four.
So on that note, so my understanding was when the first time they tried to kill Veronica, was it the anvil? Is that correct, that they were going to throw at her car, or did that happen when they like ambushed both of them?
Did you hear the question, Tara?
Yeah, I did. She say it again.
Because you know me, I got to go look at dates because I'm not going to remember.
So the original attempt on
I
Veronica's
think
wife,
I read it in the affidavit, and I think it was when they were waiting to do it, but I couldn't remember because, knowing Veronica and just knowing both of our parents, my mom is really, really good friends with Amanda, and like teaching us awareness even out in the middle of nowhere. It was just, when all this came to light and when I found out, it was really hard for me to understand, like, why didn't they drive off? Why didn't they, why did they stop?
Right.
So when I read that, I was like, maybe her car got hit, what it was something they threw, because, you know, my dad has always taught me, you know, if someone does that, you get out of there. You drive through the pastures, you know, you never stop the vehicle. And so that, just knowing her was like, you know, did she feel, you know, was there something else going on that she did stop? She never had the slightest idea that they would do that to her.
Well, so I did find it in the affidavit again. So Tiffany purchased the 3 prepaid cell phones from Walmart in Guyman on February 13th. February 13th. They'd been planning this stuff for a while. Then in February, and it doesn't say what date. It just says that Adams, Colum, Cole, Cora, and Grice went to Hugoton, but Butler did not leave her residence. So that puts Grice in there again.
Again.
So he's in there twice now.
Yeah. And I just don't
And I
understand
didn't catch
how.
that.
Yeah, no, I don't understand how they question him and he's off scot-free.
I think, like, from being there and seeing the road, what I can vision, and I'm not sure this is how it happened, but what I can vision is she would have been going down that stretch of highway to Four Corners.
Yeah.
Then the truck with the trailer possibly blocked her off right at that point, where only way she could go would have been right, and then to that dirt road, and she could have taken that dirt road on back up to the highway. But then they had another vehicle block her in at that point. That's how I vision it happening. I'm not real sure, but I think that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because they would have had to block the highway somehow, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it said that. Did it not say that in the affidavit that what Cora's daughter had said?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I still would have went crazy. I would have, you know, drove off. I would never have. And it just makes me so sad. I can't imagine the terror both of them were feeling in that moment.
Yeah, me either. And my understanding is Veronica would have fought for every last breath.
Oh,
and
yeah, she would have.
And obviously Jilian carried. I don't know if Veronica did or not. I'm really surprised if she didn't, but especially considering the circumstances. Her fiance is a police officer. I would think that she carried, but we haven't heard anything about that.
I think my take on that is I'm wondering if she didn't because of like the situation she was in already. And I believe, you know, maybe she thought that Tiffany could have used that against her in the future. You know, if she would have got her like wind of that, just knowing Veronica. But yeah, 100% she definitely had to give them a run for, you know, their money. And I think that's how their plan did not go how they planned.
That's possible. Tara, what are your thoughts on it?
She won't be able to hear me, Kari, so she's going to jump right in. She can't hear me.
So okay. Tara's going to give her thoughts real quick on what you just said. And you can't hear her, but everybody else will be able to hear her.
And sum up for me, I was looking at the confession versus admission, or the responsibility. What did she say in short again? I'm sorry. Oh, Kari stepped out. I'm not sure. Considering I wasn't paying attention, so I know that the caller can't hear me, and I think Kari muted herself temporarily. But I do. I heard the
What
same
do you
thing
think about like how they blocked them off?
I think
do you think they took the truck and the trailer and blocked the highway and took another truck and blocked the other side of the dirt road, so she had no way to turn? That's what I think.
I would think there's actually probably 3 vehicles involved. You had to block the highway they were heading south on to make them turn back west onto L Road. You had to block L Road to make them turn onto the 2-track road that the car was found on. And in order to keep them from continuing down that 2-track road, you'd have to have another block there.
Yes, most definitely. I'm almost positive there were 3 vehicles. There's witnesses that saw 3.
There had to be. They had to trap them there. and they probably blocked it in such a way where there was a vehicle parked behind the car, one parked in front of the car, and another one parked beside the car to conceal as much as possible. That would be and that's one of the things that got me into this case is the location of the car. I'm familiar with 2-track roads and how they are created. That was not part of their plan to be there. As far as Veronica and Jilian, they were forced into there without
Oh,
any other
definitely.
recourse. And
And the other side of that dirt road, like, so their car is on one end of it, and then it just goes up a little bit and it leads back onto that highway there. That end of that dirt road, like, we couldn't even drive our cars down. It was so rutted. Where the car was found, it wasn't like that, but the other end of it, that absolutely was very rutted out. I mean, you take a farm truck, but definitely weren't taking our vehicles. All.
Right.
There's a question. Could others have brought the plan to the fore out of wanting to quote unquote save the kids?
I thought the same thing.
I don't know, because
it's going to be a serious question to come up in trial. I can bet you on that one.
It will be, which is probably where some of these other arrests might lead.
Because, do you know, like, was there Gone Misfits? Was it just
it's not
Tad,
God's Misfits.
Tiffany, Cora, Cole, and then the Cooks, right? I believe. I don't know the Cooks personally, but was it only them, like them 6, or you look on Cole's Facebook page, he posts of the meeting in the parks. I didn't know if there was more than the 6 that have been mentioned involved, because it's so hard to me, like, you know, growing up in that area, like when you heard something like that, no one kept it to themselves. You know, that was, and it would have been a joke probably at first, because obviously clearly they're sick in the head. So that would have been a big group discussion. And I feel like it was a big group discussion, and maybe they were, you know, exciting each other. Like, you know, like, oh, we could do this. And then I think that's ultimately what led to the despise of, you know, the plan.
Well, and here's also my question. Did they leave the Cooks completely out of everything?
Right. Because how would they not question?
The kids were there till
reasoning?
noon. They were there overnight and there till noon. There was a birthday party planned. They had to have known that Veronica got the kids every Saturday, as she had been. She had not gotten them for 2 weeks because Tiffany was causing issues. But the Cooks had no clue, and I'm not accusing them, but I am kind of accusing them of not having any idea. I'm just saying,
like, being oblivious
to it.
Of the situation. It makes no sense. Because, I mean, if they're going to Cora's going to tell her 16-year-old daughter, she's going to spill the beans to someone else. I wouldn't hope you're just being a sick parent and just want to tell your daughter stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Because they had how many weeks until, it wasn't it 2-3 weeks before or 2 weeks, and then they got arrested.
It was about 2 weeks, because
way.
it happened on a Saturday. I went there on Friday, returned the following Friday, and they were all arrested on Sunday. So yeah, it was almost exactly 2 weeks.
And it's just crazy how they didn't talk to anybody. Like, that blows my mind.
Yeah. It does. I don't think that they talk to others that, you know, maybe attend the meetings and things like that.
Right.
So I am trying to tread carefully with those people, because I think that they're completely innocent, that they didn't know the, you know, depths of this stuff. I know that a couple of people I've talked to are like, you know, I went to a couple meetings, there were red flags, but nothing big, nothing that would have sent you thinking that something like this was going to happen for sure. Just some of the ideas and things like that they had felt a little foreign to people, maybe. But they were definitely trying to bring people into their group, as I'm sure that they still are. And that's why people in that area need to be just, you know, do your research, be knowledgeable, be very careful, things like that, because, I can see some of maybe, no, I can't see any of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just can't. I've tried and I can't.
I cannot believe this happened. I mean, it happens, and that was another question. I'm glad I said that. So do you believe that the media, because when it first started coming out, I believe on most, if not all, the news stations, they really cling to the fact that Jilian was a preacher's wife. Do you believe that that is why it's, been broadcast so, everywhere? Because, this happens, it has to happen all the time. This is, not anything new.
It happens
And
too
so-
often. Yep.
Yeah. And so I'm just curious to me, it makes me feel like, I'm Christian. So I'm like, it makes me feel like Jesus put Jilian there for a reason, for
Right.
this
I think
whole story.
I think I've said something to that effect. Have I not, Tara? Something to that effect that
We've both said that. Yeah. That's
yeah,
something we
like,
talked about in a previous live.
and it feels horrible to say that. It's
Right.
not a good feeling to
Yes.
say that. But yes, absolutely. I think if Veronica had been by herself, this would never have gotten any coverage.
Mhm.
It would have been, we would have never heard another thing about it. I don't think that she would have gotten any kind of justice. And sadly, Jilian being with her most definitely did help the situation. In my case, like when I first saw it, I was just like, they're from Oklahoma, they're from Kansas, but they're in Oklahoma. It's another custody battle kind of thing, which I've covered a few of those. And
Right.
so that was my immediate interest in it. Wasn't the fact that Jilian was with her, but I do think that's why it got so much coverage. I truly do. And I hate that Jilian, I hate that for her. And like I said, it doesn't feel good for me to say that.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah, and it's not to say that Veronica never would have been enough. That's just
Right.
there needed to be a shining light for us to see.
So Tara's explaining a two-track road. A makeshift access road created by landowners, farmers, etc. It's not an official road, but it's there and it can be seen by the two tire tracks. That sums it up.
No, the kidnapping is just blocking the road and forcing them off the road to drive on a different road is in Oklahoma, as verified by an Oklahoma attorney. That would be kidnapping. That's kidnapping in and of itself. That's one of the definitions of kidnapping. There are more, but that is one of them. So just by getting those girls off the highway, off their path, that was kidnapping. Yeah, I don't think it would have gotten the leverage it had.
Yeah, I agree with that recent comment of the Jilian and Misfit. I think for the Christian, sorry, my son.
It's okay.
But I think for just that's what I was telling my partner. I said, for us people that are Christians and that know the real God, that would never commit a crime like this, with it being broadcast, I feel like it just shed such a horrible light on us because, they posted on their social media how they believed in Jesus and they did, everything. And it's like, just something like this just knocks us Christians down even more because people see this and they're like, oh, well, they did this and they believe in God. And I'm like, no, I want people to know that they did not believe in Jesus. They did not follow him. They, whatever they were worshiping was not Jesus ever.
Right.
And it's just so sad that they are
pretended.
now.
They pretended. Yeah. They pretended to a lot of people And yeah, and it definitely gives people a bad name. And another thing that's been brought up is they're right-wing extremists. Well, in a sense, they
Right.
kind of are. That gives Republicans a bad name. Trust us, we're
Yep.
not all Republicans are not right-wing extremists.
No,
I'm a
we're not.
Republican. I don't care to say it. I'm from Oklahoma. I'm a Republican.
Uh-huh.
But I would never condone the extremism on any side ever. I think it's awful. I think it's horrible. Those posts that were made is like, I mean, to me, red flags went up right away. So it's kind of hard to
Uh-huh.
think that it didn't go up for other people. But I also did not know those people before. So if I saw a good, well, no, I'd question. If Tara makes a post on Facebook tomorrow that is the equivalent of something Cole posted. Trust me, I'm going to be messaging her saying, what in the world is going on with
Yeah.
you? Are you
No,
okay? Do you need
100%.
help? Who do you need me to call? So it's surprising. I mean, that people red flags didn't go up on things like that. Because to me,
Yeah.
they perk right up.
100%. I agree.
So, Kari, I know we're kind of coming to
Yep.
that point in the live, but I do, and I know the caller can't hear me, and I wish she could, and I'll put it in the chat. I found a summary of the difference between a confession and responsibility.
Yeah, if you could put it in the chat, then I'll
I
pull
will.
it up real quick.
Yep, I will put it in the chat. See, so a confession, let me type this out real quick. Confession acknowledges complete guilt, while an admission or it's also known as responsibility. Admission establishes facts, but not necessarily responsibility. So it's still a little bit testy. I'm still working on that. But and I think the reason it was important for that to be pointed out in the affidavit is this responsibility, this admission of some type. This responsibility cannot be taken back.
Right.
So like
So
a
she
confession,
admitted to the facts in front of her. That's the way I'm understanding what you wrote.
yeah, there's things that she's saying, I'm aware of this happened, this happened, but she's not saying I did it. She's like, I am aware of these things. And they can say, we can
I just
definitively
wanted to
tie
say
you
thank
to.
you for letting me call. I got to get my baby to bed.
You're
But
so welcome. Thank you for calling. We
yes,
appreciate you
and thank
so much.
you for covering it. Not being there back home, it just makes me feel closer to home. And I'm just so glad that Veronica and Jilian are getting the coverage they deserve, especially Veronica, since I knew her personally. But it really does touch all of us that are not, living there anymore. But anyways, thank you so much.
Certainly.
Thank
Thank you. You have a great evening.
Are you
All
still
right.
there? Okay.
So I
It was
am
so silent.
still here. And yeah, so let's see. 2 women in a desolate area are gone missing, brought a lot of early interest also.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's been a heck of a case. It's
yeah.
Oh goodness. Well, hopefully in future lives we can get a few more folks that know Jilian and Veronica and can start sharing some of those experiences and stories.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'd love
it
to
would.
hear some good stories, some good memories, things like that. We'd
Yes.
love to hear from those of you that are family and friends of them because we don't want to just share the sad, bad news all the time.
Mhm.
They're amazing women that are dearly loved by so many people, and we'd love to hear more about them. Tessie, real quick, said I followed the Roden case out of Piketon, Ohio, where 8 family members were unalive due to a custody case. Yep, 100% in multiple homes. I remember watching that when it happened. And my first thought, and I said it out loud to my husband, was this like a mafia type of thing? Oh no, it was grandma,
Oh,
8
wow.
family members. And these people, like they all lived in um like a big property, huge property. And they had trailers, maybe even a mile apart, for example. And yeah, they went in and they got them all, and they had been great friends for life, all sorts of things, but all for custody. Yep, sure enough.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy case, crazy case. So yeah, I hope to get more movement with them calling in. Definitely. And thank
Mm-hmm.
you, Lynn, for starting that. We appreciate
Yes.
you. Um, Buccaneer said, I was in Nashville this week for work, and this case was very well known and discussed there. That's wonderful.
That's very good to hear.
That is very good to hear. And gives us grandma as a bad name. That's right. She does not deserve that title. No, she doesn't at all. She doesn't one bit. Being a grandmother is like the best thing in the entire world. And what most grandmothers want for their grandchildren is a better life, 2 parents that love them. Usually you're the strong part of your family. And in this case, she is the evil, wicked witch. So I agree. She does not deserve the name grandma. And as for getting a fair trial in mid Oklahoma, I went to get a mani-pedi. Ooh, that sounds good. And it was being discussed. People I work with are aware as well. Yeah. I do think that it will be moved eventually. I truly do think that. I don't know how far mid Oklahoma, but Woods County has, I don't know, that's what, 2 hours from there. Alva is the county seat. So that might be a place. I don't know, but I just don't see it staying in Guyman. I'd be shocked. It might.
I would be shocked too. I don't think it's going to work. I think they're going to want to move it. That's going to be in the best interest of
definitely
the trial attorneys.
All right. Well, it's been 2.5 hours. Once again, thank you to Tara. She's always amazing. She adds so much to the whole case, to this channel, to our YouTube group. I really can't thank you enough, Tara.
Thank you.
And for all of you that are here watching, that have subscribed, please hit the like on the video. It helps other people see it more. If you're not yet a member, consider joining. It's very cheap. But other than that, I think we have covered a lot tonight. And again, I appreciate those that did feel safe. Yeah, did feel safe in calling in and being brave. And 100%, we very seldom have like trolls in the chat, or we don't seem to have those kind of problems. And I so appreciate all of you for that. I know Tara does as well. And we have wonderful mods. They appreciate the fact that, the people that come and watch are so respectful to each other. And thank you. So that's all I have to say. Do you have any ending words, Tara?
Nope, it's not the end. We're just entering into another chapter. So we'll keep going through this together.
All right. With that said, love you all. Thank you so much. We'll see you over in the group, and we'll meet back here soon. Thanks again.
Have a good night.
You guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.